If you look around, it seems like a quiet, peaceful part of rural Pennsylvania. But the ground I'm standing on is hiding a secret. It's an underground inferno that has been burning for over 60 years. Welcome to Nomad's Echoes, where forgotten stories, ancient traditions, and the hidden power of our planet come to light. Back in 1962, a fire at a landfill accidentally lit a giant vein of coal under this town, and it has been burning ever since. This is the story of Centralia, Pennsylvania, a real-life ghost town that was literally wiped off the map with an underground fire that could keep burning for another 2 centuries. Before all the smoke and the sinkholes, Centralia was the classic American dream. Founded back in the 1800s, this town's entire existence was built on the rich anthracite coal just beneath the soil. For about 100 years, life here followed the rhythm of the mines. It was a town built by immigrants who came for tough work and a shot at a better life. In the 1950s, nearly 2,000 people called this place home. Imagine a tight-knit community where everyone knew your name, with bustling shops, churches, and a real sense of pride. Life revolved around one thing: coal. The work was dangerous, but it built this town from the ground up. The whole identity of Centralia was tied to the black rock they pulled from the earth. People here were living a simple, hard-working life, never guessing that the very ground that provided for them would one day turn into their worst enemy. They were sitting on a time bomb, and the fuse was about to be lit. Centralia's doom didn't start with a big bang, but with something you'd never think twice about: a routine cleanup. In May 1962, just before the annual Memorial Day celebration, the town hired some volunteer firefighters to clean up the local landfill. The plan was what they'd done before: set the garbage on fire and then put it out. Here's where it gets a little mysterious, as no one knows the exact cause. The most common story is that the firefighters thought they had put the fire out completely, but embers deep inside the trash found their way into an unsealed opening in the old mine pit. That opening was a direct door to a maze of abandoned mines. Another theory is that someone had just dumped hot ash from a coal burner into the pit. Whatever the spark, it ignited the massive Buck Mountain coal seam. It was no longer a trash fire. It was now a subterranean inferno. At first, nobody grasped the danger. They could smell something strange and see a little smoke, but the fire was spreading silently through the tunnels, fueled by an almost endless supply of coal and oxygen. Early attempts to stop it were useless. They tried digging it out, but the fire was too deep. They tried flooding the mines, but the intense heat just turned the water to steam. For 20 years, every attempt to stop it failed, costing millions. The fire was no longer a problem. It was a permanent, terrifying part of life. For nearly 2 decades, people in Centralia lived in a strange sort of denial. The fire was a known issue, but life went on. Under the surface, though, the danger was growing. The fire was pumping toxic gases like carbon monoxide into people's basements. Some residents even kept canaries in their homes, like old-time miners, as a crude carbon monoxide detector. The ground itself started acting strangely. Snow would melt in odd patterns on the ground, revealing where the fire burned hottest. Roads began to buckle and crack. A main highway, Route 61, became so warped that it had to be permanently closed and rerouted. But the scariest part was the ground simply giving way. The most terrifying example happened on Valentine's Day, 1981. A 12-year-old named Todd Domboski was in his grandmother's backyard when the ground suddenly opened up beneath him. A sinkhole 150 feet deep swallowed him into the earth as hot, poisonous steam billowed out. Miraculously, Todd grabbed onto a tree root and screamed for help. His cousin heard him and managed to pull him out just in time. That moment changed everything. It made national news and proved the fire wasn't just a nuisance, it was trying to kill them. The question was no longer how to save the town, but how to escape it. The near death of Todd Dumbosky was the final straw. It forced the federal government to act, but in doing so, it tore the community apart. The town split into two groups, those who wanted to take a buyout and leave, and the stayers who refused to abandon their homes. In 1984, Congress set aside over $42 million to buy out any resident who wanted to relocate. This was the beginning of the end. One by one, families took the money, and the houses they left behind were demolished. Over 600 buildings were torn down. Streets once lined with homes became empty fields. In 1992, the state condemned every remaining property, which was the official death sentence for the town. A decade later, the U.S. Postal Service officially discontinued Centralia's zip code, 17927. The town was literally wiped off the map. From a community of over 1,000, the population dropped to just a handful. The fire had won. Visiting Centralia today is a strange experience. The grid of streets is still there, but it feels like a ghost of a town. Nature is taking everything back. For years, the most famous landmark was the Graffiti Highway, the abandoned, cracked stretch of Route 61 that visitors covered in spray paint. But in April 2020, the private landowners got fed up with the crowds and safety issues and buried the entire road under mounds of dirt. A few things from the old town are still here. You can find several cemeteries with their headstones standing in silent defiance of the chaos underground. You might even see steam rising from the ground nearby, a constant reminder of the fire. And then there are the holdouts. After a long legal battle, the few remaining residents made a deal with the state in 2013. They are allowed to live out the rest of their lives in their homes, after which the properties will belong to the state. The 2020 census counted just 5 people left, and recent estimates suggest that number may now be down to 4. They stay out of principle, arguing the government used the fire as an excuse to seize the land for the valuable coal still underneath. They are the last living link to Centralia that was. The story of Centralia is a modern tragedy that started with a small mistake and spiraled into a disaster that has lasted for over 60 years. It's a story about the awesome power of nature and the limits of human ingenuity, but it's also a deeply human story about losing everything: homes, a community, and a way of life. What do you think we can learn from this town story? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this story fascinating, please like and subscribe for more dives into forgotten histories. Thanks for watching.